Now, verse 99. Verse 98 first, let's see that. Niramshasya ubhayatmatvam na kathanchit gatishyate tena chidrupa evatma ityahus sankhya vivekinaha. So, as a part of Tvam-pada analysis, Vidyaranya analyzes varieties of the confusions regarding this individual, which are actually prevalent among philosophers as well as among ordinary people. Now, but here he takes philosophers who have a varieties of the opinions regarding this individual, regarding this Jivatma, regarding Tvam Padartha. And what are the confusions? First is an identity of this Jiva, identity of individual. What is called an identity? What is an individual? Whether he is just a deha, whether he is a mind, whether he is a senses, etc. And then regarding the size of this individual, regarding the size of the Atma, well, there is a confusion. Of course, regarding number also there is a confusion. Anyway, regarding nature also of Atma, there are confusion. And well, so far as we are discussing nature of the Atma, what type of confusions are prevalent. And well, some says Atma is Jada Swarupa, Atma is inert. And some philosophers, means this Tarkikas, Nayayika, Vaisheshikas and Prabhakaras say that Atma is inert. Then some says no, Atma is Jada Chaitana, Rupa, mixture of Chita Chit, mixture of consciousness and inertness. Atma has a amsha, some part is conscious, some part is inert. And well, some others says Atma is just consciousness, Chit Swarupa. And we saw this, this Atma is not Achit Rupa, Atma is not Jadam, that we already saw. And the other philosophers, Bhattamimamsakas, they say Atma is Jada Chetan Rupa. So we completed even Bhattamatam also in the last class, verse 94 to 97, we have completed actually. But there is some confusion. Before continuing class further, well, I would like to go back to verse number 94. Because of a translation available in one English book, in Ramakrishna Mission's book, if you see the translation of verse 94, you will find something else. And so perhaps you may read that translation and then you will come up with a question. So I thought, let me just make it clear to you. Actually, the verse has been interpreted, this particular verse 94, which in fact is the beginning of a Bhattamatam according to us. But they have translated as it's a matam, it's an opinion of actually Prabhakaras, not Bhattas. So that's two interpretations are available for verse number 94. And this, according to Bhattas, well, we have seen already, and it's a one interpretation according to Bhattamatam, and another interpretation according to Nyaya Vaisheshika. Because the verse 94 has one word called Aspashta Chit. And Aspashta Chit, well, of course, that is Anandamaya Koshaha is Atma, etc. That is okay, which is available in a deep sleep state, etc. And that is Aspashta Chit. And Anandamaya Kosha is Aspashta Chit, means it is dull. We have to translate it like that. If it is dull, means it is obstructed. Consciousness is obstructed. Then consciousness is obstructed by what? Obstructed by Jadamsha. And well, so this Aspashta Chit resembles a mixture of Chit and Achit. That's how we interpret it also. That is called Bhattamatam. That Atma is having a two amshas. Anyway, so, other interpretation is Aspashta Chit. So Aspashta Chit means, well, during Sushupti, this person is Aspashta Chit, means is dull consciousness, well, then it resembles Jada Padartha. That's how translation is. So Atma is, appears as a jada padartha. We say aspashta chit means consciousness appears dull, means it has a jada amsha. Jada amsha obstructs consciousness. And that's how it's a mixture. That's a Bhattamata. We interpret it like that. But Ramakrishna Mission's book, the translation of the verse 94 and translating aspashta chit, then it says it appears dull. Chit consciousness, aspashtam, dull. Dull consciousness, well, then it is always jadam. Because when a person is dull, you say he is jadam. Like intelligence is there, but it is very dull. Then we look upon that person as a jadam. We look upon that vastu as a jadam. So in Sushupti, consciousness is aspashta chit, and so it appears as a jada padartha. And in that case, it is a Nayayika matam, that Atma is achit. So Nayayika philosophers mistake it as a jada padartha because during Sushupti, it is dull consciousness, and dull consciousness means it is jada. Anyway, so I do not have to give you trouble for both the interpretations, but because of this English translation available in Ramakrishna Mission's book of verse 94, and especially that aspashta chit, well, that's how another interpretation was possible. Anyway, but we took it as a Bhattamatam, and we discussed, in fact, Bhattamatam began in verse number 94, and it was completed in verse number 97. Anyway, either it is a Nayayika matam or a Bhattamatam, or either it is a Prabhakara matam or a Bhattamatam, whether it is a inert or whether it is a mixture of chit achit, either way it is Purvapaksha, okay? And therefore, so Anvaya of this shloka is very tricky. In fact, verse 94, Yaha Anandamaya Koshaha Sushuptau Parishishyate, and Saha Aspashta Chit. So, Yaha Anandamaya Koshaha Sushuptau Parishishyate. Parishishyate, it remains. Just as it remains as Anandamaya, Sushuptau, in deep sleep state. Saha, that Anandamaya, is Aspashta Chit, that is dull consciousness. Esham means for these philosophers, dull consciousness available in deep sleep state, well, is either it is a mixture or either it is a achit. Esham means you can take either Bhattamatanam or Nayayika matanam, either way you can take. Esham, so Saha Aspashtachit Esham Atma Bhavati. For these people, either a Nayayikas or either a Prabhakaras or either a Bhattas, well, it is basically this Anandamaya available in the Atma, which is Aspashtachit, Anandamaya available in the Sushupti, which is Aspashtachit, is Atma for them. Means Anandamaya Kosha, what we say is Anandamaya Kosha, that is the Atma for these people, for these philosophers. And te gunaha asya bhavanti. Te gunaha, those gunas means which gunas? Which already we discussed. Ichha, dvesha, sukham, dukkham, dharma, right? Samskaraha and jnanam, consciousness, all these gunas. Asya, atmanaha bhavanti. All these gunas belong to Atma. Anyway, so this is how, we have completed in this, I'm clarifying regarding this verse 94. Now with verse 97 actually Bhattamatam is over, and in last class I introduced verse 98 also, in which Sankhyas appeared, and and that is Sankhya Matam is discussed here from verse number 98 to 101. And the Sankhya philosophy, straight away refutes Bhattamatam, saying that Atma cannot have two portions. We have discussed also that part. Bhatta says like a glowworm. One part is a light, other part is a dark in that glowworm. Same way Atma also has a dark part and light part. Chit and achit, conscious and inert. Atma is basically, if you take it as with the parts, naturally it will fall apart, etc. It becomes anityam, etc. And Atma has never been discussed as anityam in any Upanishad. And anything which is anityam is a product. Atma is not a product, Atma is a cause. Everything is effect. Atma is not effect. So anything which is anityam, anything which has parts is anityam. What is anityam is a product. And then definitely if it is a product, it will definitely, this gets destroyed. Today or tomorrow, it will have a janma and maranam, everything. Anything product, effect, come out of the cause, has a date of birth. And therefore, and regarding Atma, it has never been discussed that Atma is subject to birth and death. In fact, Atma is not subject to birth and death, that has been told in the Shruti. And Atma is Nityaha, etc., has been told in the Shruti. And therefore, your interpretation of having Atma is having a Chit and Achit parts. It doesn't suit us. And therefore, if you can answer, please answer. Please explain the Shruti. You are Astikas, you are relying on the Shruti for arriving at the nature of Atma. And what you derive, well, with the help of your Tarka, keeping aside the Shruti statement, then you are no more a Vedika. You are not a Astika. You are like Buddhas then, who says Atma is Shunya and etc. etc. Never Veda has taught that Atma is Shunya or Atma is a Kshanikam, Kshanika Vijnanam, etc. So that you also arrive at a conclusion which Shruti never in any corner tells. And therefore, either you accept what Shruti says, or either you put another label for yourself that you are an Astikas. Well, and he is not ready. He says, I am Astika. I accept Veda as a pramana. Then what? Veda never talks about Atma is Nitya, Atma is subject to birth and death and all that. And so don't accept this Chita-Chit parts. Never say Atma has having parts. If you say that, you are missing the boat. Atma is Niravaya anyway. So Atma cannot have a parts. Atma is partless and it is like a space. Deshakala avadibhyam nirmuktam. And space itself does not have a parts. What to talk about Atma, In fact, space is a effect of Atma. Right? Space is a first product, first born. And therefore, well, if space itself does not have a part, then the cause of the space, well, which is causeless. Atma is cause of everything and it does not have a cause. So it is not an effect. And what is the first effect of that Atma? That is the first thing which is born of Atma, that the space itself does not have a parts. Where to talk about the cause of that space, that is Atma, has a parts. So, well, it doesn't suit any reasoning. And also, on space, of course, then we compare with the space also. You are giving us an example of a space which is all pervading, which does not have parts. And the Atma also is all pervading and does not have a parts. So Atma is like a space? No. Space is Jadam. Any product is a Jadam actually. Anyway, and it can't be Chetanam, well, whereas Atma is a Chetanam. So already Jada interpretation we dismissed also. So Parisheshyat, Jada interpretation has been dismissed by whom? By these Bhattas. And Bhattas have been refuted by whom? Sankhyas. And we are discussing right now Sankhyas between verse number 98 to 101. Okay? And therefore, Bhattas have already dismissed. Please don't get confused. And well, you can ask question, but then don't get confused. What is that Jadam has been, how it has been refuted? It has been refuted before. Okay? And therefore, that please do this much homework. So Jada interpretation we already dismissed. And so Parisheshyat, if it is not Jadam, it is not Jada Chetanam mixture, then what? It is Chetanam. So we love Sankhyas very much because they say Atma is all pervading. Atma is consciousness. We love it. And there are many more things. Atma is Nitya. They also say, Sankhya say Atma is Nitya. Because if you take Jada Chetanam, then it becomes Anityam, right? Because it is having parts, then it becomes Anityam. And therefore Sankhya has dismissed that Atma is Anityam. And by dismissing the parts in Atma. And therefore, well, Sankhya says Atma is Nitya. Atma is Sarvavyapi. Atma is Asanga, he is going to tell. So we love. Sankhyas are so close to us. Anyway, so that's how even Vidyaranya is happy with the Sankyas. So he says, well, Sankhya Vivekinaha ahu. So for Sankhya you use an adjective, Vivekinaha. Vivekaha asya asti iti Viveki. There is a word Vivekin. Nakarantaha pullingaha Vivekin shabdaha prathama vibhakti bahuvachanam. Vivekinaha. Sankhya Vivekina, they are Viveki people. We say that. They are great thinkers because he has come so close to us. These Nayayikas and all, they say Atma is Achit. So they are very far away from us. And then this Bhatta says Atma is Chit Achit, mixture. So he has come little closer. Then Sankhya's refuted them and says Atma is just Chit. So we love Sankhya's very much. So Vivekina, they are great, great thinkers. Who says? Vidyaranya says. Let's go to verse 99. Jadyamshah prakrute rupam vikari trigunancha tat chito bhoga apavargartham prakrtissa pravartate. Wait a minute. If Atma is a Chit Sarupa, right? If Atma is just consciousness, how do you explain the insensation in a deep sleep state? How do you explain? Because in Sushupti we are almost like Jada, right? I am not aware of surrounding, I am not aware of myself. So there is Jadatvam. That's a definition of Jadatvam. So that Jadatvam belongs to something. Because you experience Jadatvam and you basically you say I am not aware of myself. I was not aware of myself in Sushupti. I was much less aware of the surrounding world, and therefore you experience Jadatvam centered on the self, and then therefore Atma is Jada. Because you experience Jadatvam, you will have to now account for this Jadatvam of the self. Well, then now you say Atma is Chit Sarupa. Or Sankhyas, who is asking? These people. Bhattas are asking them. We are waiting. We are waiting for our turn. It will come later. And so, well, definitely, these Bhattas, they were very upset because they were dismissed by the Sankhya's. So they raise a question. How will you explain deep sleep state? Because there is a Jadatvam experience there. So, and Jadatvam belongs to something. You say Atma does not have Jadatvam. So, well, then Sankhya says, yes, we are ready for that question. It is there, it belongs to actually Anatma. It belongs to, they call Prakriti, I will explain you. It belongs to Anatma, not Atma. So you mix up actually Anatma with the Atma. So you mix up the Jadatvam of the Anatma with the Atma due to Aviveka. See, so close. So Atma is called Purusha, Anatma is Prakriti, and Prakriti is Jadam, Purusha is Chetanam, and they cannot be mixed up. You may say there is a mixture, but they cannot be mixed up. Because one is Jadam, one is Chetanam, but in your Buddhi, out of Aviveka, you mix up. So out of that you superimpose. And let me use that word. So you will feel that they are very close to Vedanta. So basically Prakriti, and the gunas of Prakriti are superimposed upon the Purusha. And that is how the Jadatvam, which is a property of Prakriti, well, you experience in Atma. Atma does not have Jadam. Atma is just pure consciousness. We are so happy while drinking the coffee, sitting aside, in the one corner. We are so happy with this Sankhya's. So it is similar to Vedanta, Prakriti, Purusha, Viveka, and don't think this Prakriti and Purusha word has not been used by, these words are used by Sankhya's. We don't use, don't say that. Prakriti, Purusha word is there in Upanishad. I will tell you that. Prakriti, Purusha and Prakriti, Purusha, Viveka, and then Atma and Atma, Viveka, it is one and the same thing. Anatma has been superimposed upon Atma, same way Prakriti is superimposed upon Purusha, and the guna of Prakriti is also appear in Purusha. Purusha is consciousness, but it appears, Atma appears Jadam due to this Adhyasa. Who does this Adhyasa? The champion. The champion does this Adhyasa. There cannot be a mixture of Prakriti and Purusha. One is Chetanam, one is Jadam. But out of Aviveka, well, you superimpose that Prakriti, guna of the Prakriti upon Atma. So nice. So Jadyamshaha Prakritehe Rupam. Jadyamshaha Prakriti. Only. They commit a blunder, don't worry. That's how they become Purvapaksha. Otherwise they look like they and Vedantins are same all the way. But somewhere they do such a blunder, then they become Purvapaksha for us. So Jadyamshaha Prakritehe Rupam. So Jadyamshaha Prakritehe means of this Prakriti, Jadyamshaha Rupam. So there are all these, modified versions of Prakriti. What are that? Body, mind, sense, complex, everything. They have that whole chart. Whether I don't know whether I have given you or not. Out of Prakriti, everything is formed. From Prakriti, there is a Mahat Tattvam, and from Mahat Tattvam, there is a Ahankara, and from that, there is a 5 elements, and this and that. And so, whole creation came out of Prakriti. And so, everywhere you find, whatever you find right now, is a modified version of Prakriti. Body is a Prakriti, mind is a Prakriti, senses are Prakriti, etc. And so, Prakriti's first characteristic is this Jadyamsha. It is Jadam. Second, Vidyarnya says, Vikari, you can see in the verse itself, in the first line, Jadyamshaha Prakritehi Rupam. Then that Prakriti has another thing also, Vikari. Vikari means what? Changing. Everything is changing, right? And therefore, constantly changing. And that's how all mind, senses, everything keep on changing. That's how you go to that eye specialist for regularly, to test the power of your eyes and etc. Because why should you go? Because you feel that there is a change in the power of the senses, and therefore it is all these modified versions of this Prakriti, mind, senses, body, constantly change, and all entire world. So Vikara is also Prakriti Guna. Jadyamshaha also Prakriti Guna. Second, Vikari, the changing, etc. also is a Prakriti Guna. Okay, and then the third thing is what? Trigunam, all gunas, that Sattva, Rajas, Tamas, etc. All gunas also belong to Prakriti. Well, Purusha does not have any guna. Purusha does not undergo any change. You can understand. Prakriti, Purusha, Viveka, you can do. Prakriti is a Jadyamshaha, Purusha is a Chaitanam, Prakriti is a Vikari, Purusha is Nirvikaraha, Prakriti is a Triguna, and Purusha is a Nirgunam. Very nice. And so, Bhagavan also said in 13th chapter, Prakritim Purusham Chaiva Vidyanadi Ubhavapi Vikaramsha Gunamshaiva Vidhi Prakriti Sambhava. Bhagavan also very nicely said. And so Prakriti word also he has used, and he also said Vikaraha, Gunaha, etc. Vidhi, may you know, Arjuna, Sambhava, Prakriti Sambhavan. All these Vikaras, etc., what you see in names and forms, they are all born of Prakriti only. And Guna means all the Sattva, Rajas, Tamo Gunas also. Wherever you find a inertness, etc., Rajo Guna and Sattva Guna, etc., well, all this belongs to Prakriti. Everything has come out of the Prakriti. So, clear division. Purusha is Nirgunam, Purusha is Nirvikaraha, Purusha is Chaitanaha, Prakriti is just opposite to that. Anyway, and what is the function of Prakriti? Sa Prakriti pravartate, functions. Prakriti hi pravartate. This Prakriti, this Prakriti which we are talking about, from which everything has come, which is changing, and which is Triguna, which is of 3 gunas, which people say which has 3 gunas. Prakriti has 3 gunas. And so Prakriti is as though some kind of a adhara, and in that 3 gunas are there. No. Prakriti is 3 gunas. Not Prakriti has 3 gunas. Please understand that. Many people commit this mistake. So Prakriti has gunas. No. Prakriti means 3 guna. That's all. Anyway, so Triguna Prakriti, and this function of, what is the function of this Prakriti? Well, Prakriti has to constantly work for Purusha. Who is telling? Vedanta is not telling. I am talking about Sankhyas. Please understand that. Whenever I want to talk about a difference, I will take a microphone from Sankhya's and talk to you. And then Prakriti has he has to constantly work for Purusha. It keeps working and working and working, and Purusha just doesn't work at all. Can you find some similarity in the world? Well, I don't want to talk. Purusha just doesn't work. Why it just doesn't work? Because it is overweight. That's how, it has a spread so much. It is overweight, and therefore it just can't get up. To work, he has to get up and do something. It just can't get up. It is overweight. Oh, overweight? How much weight it has? Oh, it is all pervading. My God. It's all pervading. Purusha is all pervading, and therefore it cannot function at all. So all the time Prakriti is working. And for what? But for the Purusha, of course. But what does Purusha want? Well, this Purusha, this Atma, wants two things. Bhoga, apavargartha. Either he wants a bhoga. Bhoga means artha, kama and dharma. Apavarga means moksha. So bhoga apavargartham, for the purpose of all the four purusharthas, prakriti hi pravartate. Prakriti functions. Who wants these four purusharthas? Purusha wants. So for Purusha itself cannot do anything. It wants even the four purusharthas, but he cannot do anything, and therefore, well, Prakriti functions for itself. So, Swamiji, bhoga includes dharma also? Yeah, dharma also. Why? Because dharma means punya, and ultimately the punya will be converted into all bhogas. And so dharma artha kama is this bhoga, and moksha is apavarga. For chaturveda purushartham, for the Purusha, this, so it says also, Chitaha bhoga pavargartham. For this Purusha, he wants this four Purusharthas. I mean, for, well, definitely Prakriti has to work because Purusha cannot work. Purusha is just nishkriya, is actionless. Prakriti is very active. So once Purusha attains moksha, Prakriti feels satisfied. Oh, I got moksha for this Purusha. And then it leaves. Says Tata to Purusha. So, and in support of that, well, this Sankhyas give a Upanishad mantra also. Of course, this has been analyzed, this mantra of the Shvetashvatara has been analyzed in Brahma Sutra also, same problem. And then we refuted Sankhya's also there. In Brahma Sutra, we have one job, that, well, to refute everyone. All the Nastikas and all Astikas have been refuted very beautifully in Brahma Sutra. It's a Nyaya Grantha, in fact. So, anyway, Nyaya Grantha means heavily based on logic, not Nyaya Grantha means of the Nayayikas. Brahma Sutra is a Nyaya Grantha means heavily dependent, heavily, taken into account this particular pramana called Yukti or Anumana, etc. So this particular, they give support. This Prakriti is Triguna, etc. For that they say Upanishad talks about that. Prakriti, that it is Trigunam, etc., etc. And it serves a purpose for Purusha. And once Purusha gets a moksha, Prakriti leaves. Ajamekam, Lohita Shukla Krishnam, etc. So, it's a bigger mantra. So anyway, after giving moksha, this Prakriti withdraws from Purusha. So Purusha is the one which is totally free from any kind of a property of a Prakriti. That's called moksha. Well, Purusha realizes this. I am totally free from all the gunas, all the limitations, all the doshas of Prakriti. Because Prakriti, Purusha, Viveka you have to do, right? Then you have, after doing that Viveka, well, Purusha realizes I am free from everything. So now I don't mix up the gunas of Prakriti with the Purusha. So that aviveka is gone, you have a moksha and pure consciousness like that. But according to Sankhya, Purushas are many. Prakriti has to help all the Purushartha. Prakriti is one, Purushas are many. And some are liberated, some are not liberated. And this poor Prakriti is helping everyone. But some are liberated and some are not liberated. Anyway, this is the beginning of the difference between Vedantins and Sankhyas. Let's see verse number 100. Asangayashchiter bandha mokshau bheda grahan matau bandhamukti vyavasthartham purveshamiva chidbhida. So the Sankhya philosophy accepts Purusha as a Chaitanyam or a Jiva. And we are right now doing this Tvam Pada Vichara, which is, and that Tvam is nothing but a Jiva. Who says? Sankhya says. Why? There is no Paramatma Ishwar. No. I am coming to that. Because the yoga people will take a microphone from the Sankhyas and they will refute Sankhyas. So we will have to wait. So right now, because the whole vision of course is a Tattvamasi, and so you have to analyze every section of the Tattvamasi. Tattvam and Asi, and we are analyzing right now Tvam Padartha. And according to Sankhyas, this Tvam Padartha, this individual, is just a Jiva. And this Jivatma Sankhya says Asangaha. So this Jivatma or Purusha is Asangaha. It is relationless, unconnected to anything. And then if Atma, this Jiva is Asanga, it cannot be connected to Bandha or Moksha. You cannot say Atma is a Baddha. It is bound and then it got freedom. So now Atma has having a Moksha and earlier Atma was having a Bandha. When you say that, already it got connected. You say if Atma is Baddha, Atma is bound and then bondage goes and Moksha comes, means it gets connected with Bandha and Moksha. Then how Atma becomes Asanga? So therefore, Bandha goes and Moksha comes, etc. Then Atma has a connection. So we are asking him, you say Atma is unconnected to everything. Then how will you say Atma is having a bandhanam, bondage, and Atma is having a moksha? How can you say? Unless Bandha goes, moksha cannot come. And then if Bandha goes leaving Atma, means Bandha and Atma was having a connection. And now moksha comes and got connected with the Atma. So then Bandha moksha gets connected to Atma. Then how Atma is having Atma is free from all connections, Asanga. How can you say? He says, don't worry, don't get excited too much. No. Atma does not have Bandha or moksha, they belong to the mind. Wow, great thing. So mind has a bandhanam, or Prakriti has a bandhanam, or Buddhi has a bandhanam, etc. Because ultimately all these are modifications, I told you. So whatever is there right now in mind, body, sense, complex, everything is a modified version of Prakriti only. So Prakriti has a bandhanam. And what happens, Vedantin, because of this aviveka, the property, bandha moksha property which belongs to the Prakriti, well, they are transferred to the Atma. And that happens in the buddhi of that person. That aviveka happens in the buddhi of the person. And so Atma has a transferred, superimposed that adhyasa. Superimposed bandhana, superimposed moksha. Atma is basically free and asangaha. It doesn't have any connection with bandha or moksha. So Vidyaranya says, asangayaha chitehe bandha moksha chitehe. For this jivatma, which is asanga, this is asangayaha chitehe itself is a asangayaha chitehe. Asangayaha is a visheshana. It's a qualification for this chiti, means this jiva. So and that visheshana is called hetu garbha visheshana. Very, very wonderful thing. By using this visheshana, well, he is answering. So, bandha moksha matau. This bandha and moksha are matau. Matau means consider. This bandha and moksha are considered as of Atma. So how? Bhed agrahat. So they are caused by indiscrimination or superimposition. Mind only has a bandhanam and can become free from that. And this bandha and moksha both belongs to the mind only. Atma has no connection to that. In order to show that bandha and moksha do not belong to Atma, he uses the adjective asangaya. That's all. This is a wonderful thing. So they want to present an argument, but by using an adjective itself will give a logic. So asangaya chitehe. So this chiti or this jivatma, well, basically is asanga, and therefore bandha and moksha, well, matau, they are considered to be of the mind only, but they are appeared in the Atma. You say Atma is baddha, Atma is moksha. He says, yeah, bhed agrahat. There is a distinction. They actually belong to Prakriti only. Do not belong to Purusha. But bhed agrahat, not understanding the difference between Prakriti and Purusha, due to aviveka, well, the properties of the Prakriti, well, appear in the Atma. But then why it is they appear in Atma? You say, Asanga, Atma is Asanga. The Atma has no connection with Bandha or Moksha. So that Asangayaha, that adjective of the Chitehe, of the Jiva, they have used that adjective, is called Hetu Garbha Visheshana. Hetu Garbha Visheshana means a qualification which itself work as a argument in order to say that Bandha and Moksha do not belong to Atma. Still they appear in Atma. Then definitely it belongs to something else, and you see somewhere else. You see in the Atma. So Veda Agrahat. Veda means this kind of difference. Well, there is a Viveka. Agrahat. So one does not have that Viveka, and therefore they are actually, they appear in the Atma. So that's how we say Atma is Baddha, Atma is Mukta. Now Atma is free, if it is not free, we say Atma is bound. Actually, he also quotes that Nirvana Shatka. Na dharmo, na chartho, na moksha, na etc. etc. All this. And therefore Atma is free. Atma has no connection at all. It is Asanga. Bandha moksha, which are the properties of this Prakriti, well, they appear in the Atma. But so you feel it is really good. Atma is Asanga, Atma is Nitya, Atma is Sarvavyapi, and Atma is Chit Sarupa. Wow! What a great thing. Wow, we do not have to get up and do argument with all these people. So ultimately we were so happy. Our job is done by the Sankhya's. But Sankhya's are Sankhya's, and they commit a big blunder. That blunder is in the second line. So, well, it says here, Bandha Mukti Vyavasthartham Purvesham Iva Chidbida. Well, Bandha and Moksha, this is true. What they say is Bandha Mokshas are superimposed upon Atma, that is fine. But, okay, then Atma is Bandhanam, Atma is Baddha, Atma is Mukta, etc. How that difference? He said Atmas are many. Because some of them are bound, some of them are definitely free, and therefore you will have to. He says, telling us, you will have to take into account that Atma cannot be one. If it is one Atma was bound, becomes free. But you find in the world some are bound, some are basically free, and therefore Atmas must be many, right? And therefore that adjective, well, itself proves that Atmas are many, because bound Atmas and free Atmas. And therefore definitely, so even though Atma is Asanga, this is a glory of a Sankhya's Buddhi. Well, and so Atma, you use an adjective that proves a manyness. So there must be many Atmas. Otherwise, one Atma which was bound, and he did Purusha Prakriti Viveka, and he is free. Then everyone would be very free only. If one Atma is there, one was bound, now it is free. All are free. But it is not so. It is not so. Some are free, some are not free. Some are Sthita Prajna, some are not Sthita Prajna. And therefore, Atma must be many. We said he committed a blunder. What we say to him? We say if Bandha and Moksha are not really the properties of Atma, you say they are superimposed upon Atma, means they are seeming properties of the Atma. The division based on that seeming property called bound Atma and free Atma, that division also will be what? Seeming. Simple thing he forgot. That is what the problem is. Seeming. You say Bandha Atma and Moksha Atma, and therefore there must be many. But you say Bandha and Moksha cannot belong to Atma, because Atma is Asanga, not connected to Bandhanam, not connected to Moksha, and therefore they are actually the properties of Prakriti, but due to Aviveka you superimpose here. So they are superimposed properties on Atma. Then due to superimposition, Atmas appear many. That division must be what? Superimposition division. Superimposed division. That division is Mithya division. And therefore you cannot say many Atmas, based on that seeming properties. So if Bandha and Moksha are superimposed, The division based on that also in Atma, the division based on that also is superimposed. There cannot be many Atmas. So plurality also is a seeming, and if he would have said that, he would have become Advaiti, right? Atma ekaha, ekam eva advitiyam, but he would not say. This is a problem. So Shruti Vakya is there, ekam eva advitiyam. He just ignores it, literally ignores it. That is what I say, they are really not Vedikas, they are pseudos, not analyzing the statements of the Shruti properly, or what is convenient to them, for that they take a support of the Shruti. We say each and every statement of the Shruti must be analyzed, that's a truth. You have to do reasoning in order to understand the Shruti Vakya. Even if it appears contradictory, you don't take them as a real contradiction of the Shruti. You take that, you apply your reasoning and resolve the contradiction which is there in the Shruti, appeared contradiction. And that's the job of course, a Brahma Sutra. That's the job of a Brahma Sutra, which, it's a Samanvaya Adhyaya. Samanvaya Adhyaya means there is a consistency in all the Upanishad. That's Vyasacharya is established in the first chapter. Don't talk about that one Upanishad says this regarding this, other Upanishad says something else regarding the same thing. Don't say that. There is a Samanvaya, there is a consistency everywhere in all the Upanishad. Maybe 1008, maybe 108, or maybe 80, or maybe 1. Because there is an internal contradiction also, they will say. Internal contradiction. In one Upanishad at one place, we have seen in the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad before also, in Brihadaranyaka Upanishad one place something else, and in other section something else. There is an internal contradiction. No, there is no contradiction at all. That's the job of Brahma Sutra. Anyway, I am telling you in Prasanatrayi, what is the place of a Brahma Sutra, I am just narrating to you. Anyway, so here you say Atmas are many based on the qualification Baddha and Mukta, but that Bandhanam and Mukta, this Mukti etc. are not properties of Atma. That's what you only say. But you say Atma is Asanga, unconnected to Bandhanam and Moksha, and they are Adhyastha from the Prakriti, and therefore if it is Adhyastha, then the division also must be Adhyastha, and therefore Atma is one alone. So this is the blunder he commits. That has been narrated by Vidyaranya in that second line. Bandha Mukti Vyavasthartham. So, for the sake of this Bandha Moksha arrangement, well, Chit Bida. Chit Bida. This Chit means consciousness, Atma, Jivatma, Bida. There are many. There are differences among Atmas because Bandha Moksha Vyavasthartham. We will have to explain you the bondage and the moksha of Atma, and we found many are bound, many are free, and therefore in order to explain that, we will have to say Atmas are many. There are differences among Atmas, Chit Bida. So since, some Atmas are liberated, some Atmas are bound, and so Atma must be different. So he concludes the manyness of Atma, explaining this Bandha Moksha. Vedantin says Bandha Moksha does not belong to Atma, they belong to Anatma only. So, and that is Adhyastha. And so, if it is Adhyastha, then division also is Adhyastha. So, Chit Bida means a plurality of the consciousness. Sankhyanam asti. Plurality of the consciousness is there for Sankhyas. Purvesham iva. Like there are other fellows which have gone before. Means like these Nayayikas and Vaisheshikas and Purvamimamsaka, they all say Atmas are many. Only Vedanti, that's how Advaita. Only Vedantin says Atma is one without second. There is nothing other than Atma, that is Advaita. Not Atma is one. Atma is one without second. Ekam, one. Advitiyam, without second. Dvitiyam means second. Advitiyam, one without second. Means there is nothing other than Atma. Yeah, there is nothing. That's how we interpreted that as a free from Sajatiya, Vijatiya, Swagata Beda. Among Atma also, in the Atma itself also, because it is a Nirvayam, so no division. Because if it is having a parts, one part is different from the other, Well, it is Niravayavam. And Vijati Abheda, there is nothing other than Atma means Atma means Chetana. And so Vijati of a different class means some Jada Padartha, etc. No. And the third thing is Sajati Abheda. There are many Atmas. No. So Sajati Abheda is gone. Vijati Abheda means there is nothing other than Atma, means don't think there is a Chetanam Vastu and Jada Vastu in the creation. No. Everything is Chetanam only. Everything is Chetanam. Whether Chetanam appears there or not, it's another thing. That requires a certain condition for the manifestation of the Chaitanya. But everything is pervaded by consciousness, which is existence, etc. And therefore everything which exists in the world, sentient, insentient, everything, that very existence of that is Atma. And therefore, basically, that's how I said, they, instead of using Brahman and etc., that kind of a word, they say Sat. So you will not have that problem at all. Right? We have seen that. Sadeva Somya Idamagra Asit, Ekameva Dvitiyam, and then that earlier it said Sad Eva Asit. Very existence, pure existence was there. That existence alone is there also right now, pervading everything, small, big, everything. And therefore, well, so everything is ultimately Atma. There is nothing called Jadam. Anyway, so Purveshamiva, well, like the earlier philosophers, they also commit a mistake of saying the plurality of Atma. So this is how they become a Purvapakshi. Otherwise, they were very, very close to Vedanta. 101. Mahatah paramabhyaktam iti prakriti ruchyate shutavasangata tadvad asango hityata sfuta. You know, the Sankhyas are basically Vedikas. He accepts Veda Pramana along with the Pratyakshadi, etc. also. But he gives importance to Tarka more than the Veda, and therefore he is called Tarkika. You can understand, because you experience manyness of Atma, right? You are suppose a free, and I am a bound. Well, then there are two Atmas already proven. So they take into account that, and even though Shruti says Atma is one, without applying a logic to understand that Vakya, they immediately reject Shruti Vakya. They say, well, it is not our experience. So Shruti talks about something which is not available for the human experience, and so those statements we have to reject. So that is how they give a priority, well, to Tarka, etc. And so our approach is to accept that, well, Shruti and Tarka both, but then Shruti has a predominance, Tarka is subservient. Sankhyas also have both the Pramanams, Shruti and Tarka, but Tarka is a prominent and Shruti is a subservient. And therefore this is a different. That's how he is called Tarkika. Vedanti has not got a title called Tarkika. And so, we in fact Upanishad says, why we should say that? Upanishad itself, Yamaraja says in Kathopanishad, Naisha Tarkena Matihi Apneya. Na Esha Matihi, this knowledge which I am giving to you, O Nachiketa, Tarkena na Apneya. By Tarka, you will never gain. So by Tarka, if you think that I will understand the nature of Atma, etc., is not possible. Simple reason. What's a simple reason, Swamiji? One line reason can you give why Atma cannot be proved by logic? Because it's not available for the Tarka. It's not available. Okay? Because Tarka, the Anumanam, has no access to Atma. Why Tarka has no access? Because Tarka is based on perception. Any Anumanam is a Gauna Pramana actually. Pratyaksha is based on Pratyaksha. Any inference you do based on perceptual data. And then so if you want to arrive at the nature of Atma by Tarka, then you will have to have a perceptual data of Atma. And Atma is never available for any perception. And therefore, it's a foolishness to arrive at the nature of Atma. And that is what the problem is. The Sankhya's foolishness is really evident to you here. And so instead they would have applied their logic, their reasoning in order to understand the Shruti Vakya. How Shruti talks about Ekameva Dvitiyam. I see the Atmas are many. Shruti says it is one. How it is possible? Apply logic. This is called Shruti Anukula Tarka. Then you are Vaidika. If you go against Shruti, rejecting the statement Ekameva Dvitiyam, and go by your perception, go by your experience that Atmas are many because some are bound, some are free, and therefore they are many. This is what. And therefore, you give a pramanyam to your reasoning, you are no more a Vaidika, you are Tarkika. So, anyway, so Atma has no access. Tarka has no access to the Atma. It's like, they say, to see the planet, I am using a microscope. This is that kind of a thing. And therefore, to have a knowledge of nature of Atma, basically, or individual, you use Tarka as a praman. It's like using a microscope for seeing the planet. Anyway, and so use a Tarka. We always argue this. Use a Tarka to understand the Vedic statement, not to go against the Vedic statement. So it is, they say, like using a funnel for liquid to pour into the bottle. Funnel is always meant for assisting. Assisting means you are pouring the liquid into the bottle. So same way Veda also is like a container, and it has a liquid called this knowledge, and you want to pour into this buddhi, and then definitely you should have a funnel to pour into buddhi. Buddhi has a narrowness. The bottle has that narrow mouth, and that is why you require funnel. Otherwise you can directly pour if it is so wide. But buddhi has that narrowness, and that jnanam, which is a liquid, which is there in the Veda, you have to pour into your buddhi, which has a narrow mouth, and therefore you use a funnel called tarka. Okay, that is how it is. So Sankhyas make this tarka prominent, but accept with this is my favorite topic, so I will keep on talking about that whenever I get a chance, because by doing that I am addressing to scientists also. Okay, scientists are also heavily based on that all the time. Ishvara is not there, Atma is not there, consciousness is a part or a property of the brain, etc., etc. All this they have arrived at with that so-called experience, pseudo-experiments, okay? And therefore, which is never available for any kind of an experiment, never available for perception, never available for any pramana available to the human being. And then to talk about the existence of Atma, or to talk about the nature of Atma based on that kind of a reasoning, etc., is just baseless. And therefore, you should give a pramanya to Veda. That is your Shraddha. Shraddhavan labhate jnana. If you do not have a Shraddha in that pramana, you will not gain this knowledge. So this is the thing. Anyway, and this Sankhyas now quote. We are using word Purusha and Prakriti and all that. He says, this is not my words. I am basically Vaidika actually. And you see, the word Prakriti has been used, and this Prakriti is a Triguna. It has been told in the Shruti, and the Purusha is Asanga, which I am talking. That also has been told by the Shruti. I am quoting now. He says, Mahatah Param Avyaktam iti Prakriti hi uchyate. Mahatah Param Avyaktam, you know where it is? This sounds familiar, right? It is in Kathopanishad. Mahatah Param Avyaktam Avyaktat Purushah Paraha, etc., etc. Purushanna Param Kinchit Sakashtasa Paragati. Kathopanishad 1:3:11. So Avyaktat Mahatah Param Avyaktam, that Avyaktam is nothing but a Prakriti. Sankhya says, my Prakriti is acceptable to Veda Pramana, and word Prakriti also is there. I told you in that Shvetashvatara Upanishad. Suppose you say, how do you say Avyaktam is a Prakriti? Don't worry. That Avyaktam, the word Prakriti itself is there in Shvetashvatara Upanishad. Word Prakriti has been used, and it is Triguna has been used also. So, and this has been, word Avyakta stands for Prakriti. This has been proven by Vyasacharya ji in Brahma Sutra. Okay, this is one thing. So Prakriti, whatever the idea of a Prakriti, Trigunam and Vikari and all that Sankhya says, has a Pramanyam in the Shruti. Means they are validated by the Shruti. So Shrutau Asangata. So Mahatah Param Avyaktam iti Shrutau Prakriti hi uchyate. In Shruti, this Prakriti has been told like Mahata Param Avyaktam, that Avyaktam stands for Prakriti, etc. So that is there. And also, Tadvata, similarly, Asangahi Ayam Purushaha, that is a statement, Asangohi Ayam Purusha, where? In Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. This Purusha, what, see, Prakriti also has been used, which is Triguna, etc. is there in the Shruti. And Asangohi Ayam Purusha, Brihadaranyaka Upanishad 4.3.15 says this Purusha is Asanga. So Sankhya says whatever we talk about Purusha, about Prakriti, well, is all there in the Shruti. We are not having any kind of... If Purusha is Asanga, unconnected, then whatever properties are which appear there in Atma is due to what? Is due to what? Aviveka. Yeah, because Atma is Asanga, Purusha is Asanga. Means that it is free from all connections. So it doesn't have any connection with any property. And therefore, all the things which appear in the Purusha, Bandhanam, Moksha, etc., all are superimposed from something else, and that is Prakriti only. And so whatever our philosophy is there is validated by the Veda, okay? Including the word Prakriti and Purusha, both. So, but where Swamiji this word Prakriti? Mayam tu Prakritim Vidyat, Mainam tu Maheshwaram. Very clear. Mayam tu Prakritim Vidyat. What we say, Maya alone is the Prakriti of the Sankhya. Great, great, great. Never say that. Never say. Never say without understanding properly the statement of the Shruti. Okay? Maya, our Maya and their Prakriti is one and the same. And our Brahman and Atma and their Purusha is one and the same, and therefore we are Sankhyas or Sankhya's are Vedanti. Never say that. Maya and Prakriti are different. Even though Maya is Triguna, Prakriti is Triguna, etc., etc. So many ways it is. All the things are done by Prakriti. Maya alone manifest, Prakriti only manifest. All this is a modified version of Prakriti or Maya. Everything is true. But Prakriti is independent. Prakriti is independent in them. Prakriti is another reality like Purusha. It's a big difference. Maya is never independent of Brahman. Anyway, so Asangohi ataha, Asangohi iti ataha, Asangohi ayam Purusha in Brihadaranyaka Upanishad also reveals the Purusha is Asanga. That is what we believe Sankhya says, and that has been validity from the Veda. Ataha means Asmat Vakyad. From this statement, Asangata Sphuta, so Atma is Asanga, is Sphuta, is very clear. So with this, Sankhya philosophy is over. Right? Sankhya philosophy is over. 98 to 101. And the main thing is, Atma is Chitrupa. Atma is pure consciousness. And he has given a microphone to yoga people. Let's read that, 102. चित् सन्निधौ प्रवृत्तायाः प्रकृतेहि नियामकम् ईश्वरं ब्रुवते योगाः सजीवेभ्यः परश्रुतः. Now comes a yoga philosopher, and the propounder is a Patanjali. You know, Purvamimamsakas, the philosophy which has been derived from the Karmakanda, and it has been propounded by Jaimini. Their Nyaya philosophy by Gautam Rishi, and then Vaisheshikas, that their philosophy is, the propounder is Kanada. The yoga philosophy, well, of course, the darshan is by Patanjali. The philosopher or the darshanika is a Patanjali. While Sankhya's Kapila Muni. So all are in the sutra form. All are in the forms of aphorisms. Sankhya's have a sutra, yoga has a sutras, and Vaisheshikas have a sutra, Nyaya also has a sutra, Purvamimamsaka has a sutra, Uttarmimamsaka, Vedantis have a sutra, Brahma Sutra. So all darshanams have the sutra form. But the Sankhya Sutras, of course, were lost due to some reason. And it was composed by Ishvara Krishna, and it has been lost. Others are available now. Yoga Sutras also available. Anyway, and you can take those sutras and you can spend entire life in studying in one, because you cannot come out. Once you start Yoga Sutra, my God, whole life will be over. I'm telling you, the whole life will be over. So if you start studying Sankhya Sutras or start studying Purvamimamsaka Sutras in order to understand their philosophy, your whole life will go into that. Because from there something else will come, and from there something else will come, and you will remain in their realm. Now this yoga philosophy has been described here by Vidyaranya in two verses, 102 and 103. And it is, yoga philosophy is very close to Sankhya. The differences are very few but very solid. Yeah. Generally Sankhyas and Yogas are twin brothers only. But the greatest contribution of Yoga Darshanam is a method of meditation. The philosophy what they have, like Sankhyas, in order to understand the Purusha, the Purusha is free from all the gunas etc. of the Prakriti, and therefore I am Mukta etc. Well, they have a system of a Ashtanga Yoga up to the Nirvikalpa Samadhi etc. So, it's a very comprehensive and holistic system, Ashtanga Yoga. That's a contribution of yoga, and the difference between Sankhya and Yogas are very few but very solid. The first difference between Sankhya and Yoga is Sankhya's do not accept Ishvara as a cause of the creation. He accepts Veda. Sankhya's accept Veda but does not accept Ishvara. When Sankhya refers to Purusha, that is just nothing but Jivatma. That's how I say. Of course, we are analyzing Tvam-pada, but they say Atma, well, basically is just a Jivatma. There is no Paramatma. And so we have got only two things in the creation. One is Prakriti, one is a Purusha. Purusha means an Atma, but then Atma means just a Jivatma. That's what they say. There is no Ishvara. Naturally, question will come. That is question from yoga only. We have not to say anything. How is world created out of Prakriti? You said Prakriti only does all this job. All this is a modified version of Prakriti. That's correct. Prakriti is a raw material, very, very nice. But how that Jadavastu manifests into such an intelligent creation? Unless some intelligence is involved in that Prakriti. But how does? Some conscious principle has to be there. Because whatever is there, ultimately Prakriti manifests into this creation. And for the Purusha, so Prakriti knows what now Purusha wants a Artha, Purusha wants a Kama. So Prakriti knows the Purushartha of a Purusha, Chetanam, and accordingly he presents varieties of the modifications to that Purusha. And all bhogas it will present. How Prakriti, which is Jadam, can understand the desire of this Purusha? How it can understand? So you will have to bring into some conscious principle. We are asked that yoga people, now we means yoga. So yoga people are asking to Sankhyas. And Sankhya will have to answer that, right? And that answer we'll see tomorrow. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om.